Hi, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about how to make a timer in Python. So first, we're going to use two threads. The first thread is going to be the user interface. So the user interface is just going to be what the user is doing. And thread 2 is going to be going to have two timers. We're first going to have the reminder timer, which is a while loop and uses the time library, and this is just going to give reminders. And the ending the code timer is just going to be using the signal library and end the code once the timer is done. So let's first check out the code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do python example.py, and what it does is that it asks us to input a number. And let's say that I'm having a very hard time thinking. You can see that it's giving me a reminder, half time almost up and sorry time is out. If I do python example.py and I just wait a little bit and then I input, then you can see that the timer is done and it stops. So let's code this. So first, here's just a quick preview of the code, and let's jump over here. So first, we're going to import signal, and this is going to be for thread 2 ending the code timer. And the next one we're going to use is import time. And this is also for thread 2, but this is for the reminder timer because we're going to be using time in order to sleep 1 second so that you'll wait 1 second so that we can have an effective 10-second timer. And then we're going to do from colors import all. And this is just for colors. If you don't know how to do this, I really recommend that you check out my Council Colors in Python video. And if you want to create your custom videos, check out that video as well. So and then the last thing we're going to import is from multiprocessing import process. And this is going to be used to create two separate threads. So we have four import statements. We have the one ending the code, which is going to be the signal, one that just gives us the reminders, which is time, one which has the colors and which is you can see over here, and the one that creates two separate threads. So in order to create our program, we're going to split into four main steps. The first step is to create the reminder timer. And this is for thread 2 and is going to be using the while loop and the time library. The next, we're going to create the reset timer. And this is just to clear all existing timers and create a new timer. And then we're going to actually clear the timer. So this is what we're going to be using here, and that just clears all existing timers. So here we're just going to be calling the clear timer method, which we create in part 3. And then part 4 is going to be the errors. And the errors is how we're going to be ending our code. So this is for the thread to ending the code timer. So first, let's do part 1. And this is reminder timer. So first, I'm going to create a method, and it's going to be taking in one parameter, the time. So and that's pretty straightforward, but it's going to be taking how much time it's going to have to take. So we're going to create a while loop, and every single second, the while loop is going to iterate once. So that when the time reaches, let's say 5, we can just print out our message. So I'm going to do while t is greater than 0. We can do if t is, let's say, equal to 5, then I'm going to print, I'm actually going to print in red bold, half time left, and I'm going to reset the color here. And I'm going to do elif t equals to 2. I'm going to print red bold, and this is going to be almost up, reset. So, but here's the thing. If our timer is, let's say, 6 seconds, we don't want to have a halftime left at 5 seconds. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just create a variable with the original time value, and I'm just going to say halftime left when that value is divided by 2. And then that's it. That's all we really need to do, except for the reminders. But in order, but now if I run this, it's going to become an infinite loop because we never change the value of t, which is a bad practice. So let's just minus 1t here, and we're going to do time.sleep 1. So what is time.sleep is just going to wait 1 second before continuing the program. So now this is actually done. We're going to have the reminders given at these parts, and we do sleep 1 second. So let's move on to part 2, which is resetting the timer. So in order to reset the timer, I'm just going to create a def reset timer, and it's going to be taking in the time. So first we said that we wanted to clear the timer. So I'm just going to do clear timer here. And I'm going to be accessing it, and that clear timer is what we're going to be creating in part 3. But for now, I'm just going to temporarily just print high. So in clear timer, so after we clear the current timers, we want to create a new timer. So first, we're going to have to create the ending the code timer. In order to do that, we're going to do signal.signal, and this will establish the type of signal that we're creating. So the type of signal that we want to create is a signal.sig alarm. So that just says that it's going to end with a certain alarm. And next parameter is going to be what's going to run once the timer is out. So that's what we're going to be creating in part 4. But for now, I'm just going to create a method called signal handler that's also going to just print high. We'll fix it later, don't worry. And here it's just going to take in that method. And then the next part of signal is just to tell it how much time it wants to take. And in order to do that, we do signal.alarm t. And that's it. That's all we need to do for the ending the timer. The next one we want to do is for the reminder timer. And we're going to create a separate thread for this. So what we're going to do is that we're going to be using that fourth import statement now. We're going to do key1, and I'm going to set that equal to process. And this takes in 2 parameters that we're going to be using. So the first timer is target. Target equals the time that we want, the method that we want to run. So we want to run this method that we created in part 1. And the next part is to do the arguments that we passed into timer. So I'm just do arg is equal to, and we just want to pass in t, which is the time. There's nothing else that we're passing in. And what we do is that we want to do p1.start. And that's it for reset timer. What we did is that we created the ending timer using signal. So we first declared what type of signal it is and what happens when this timer is done. And then we actually created the timer saying how much time it's going to take. And then we created the reminder timer, which is going to use a process, and it's going to run this method, and it's going to give the argument of t. And that's going to start the timer. So now we've cleared the timers and created the created the timers that we want to do. So next up is clear timer, which clears up all the existing timers. So let's remove this printi and actually do this code. So we first want to clear the signal, the ending the code timer signal. In order to do that, we just do signal.alarm 0. And what this will do is that it'll take signal and it'll just make the current timer 0 so that it just kind of ends it. But how do we end the process? So that's kind of difficult, but there is a solution. What we're going to do here is that we're just going to create a global variable called process array. And inside a reset timer, we're going to do global process array so that we're accessing this global variable. And then at the very end of that method, we're going to do process array that append p1. So that every single time we create a new process, it's just going to add it to this global array. So that here, all we need to do for the reminder time is go for I in range of len process array. All we need to do is do process array of I.kill, which ends the current array that it's at. It just ends the current thread that's at, so end that timer. And we do process array dot remove I. And that's it. So now we go through and end the signal by just setting the time equal to 0, and we remove the reminder by just going through, killing each part, and then removing it from the array. And remember, you must do this line because even if you remove it from the array, it's going to continue doing it. So just remember, you need to kill that process. And the last step we're going to do is do the error, which is for the ending the code. So remember here in part 2, we passed in the step, and this is what's going to happen once the timer is done. So I want to raise an error here. But I don't want to just do raise exception, sorry, the time is out, because if later when I do a try and catch, so that if later when I do a try and catch, it's going to catch all errors, and that's not what we want. So that's why here I'm going to create a class time error, and it's going to take in an exception, and it's just going to pass. And what we just did is that we created our own custom error so that when you do the try and catch, it only catches time errors. And this just allows us to catch the other errors that we might have in our program, and also not actually raise an error once this occurs. So I'm just actually going to do a time error here. And so those are kind of the 4 main parts. And we're done now. So all we need to do now is just create the user interface and implement timer into it. So in the user interface, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to first create a try, which I'm just going to take input from the user to input a number. And then I'm going to do except time error. And here I'm just going to print red bold. Sorry, the time is out plus reset. But once we run this code, you're going to see that we get an error. So let's first try it. Oh, let's say that I don't actually input a number. Let's do 10. It seems like something is going wrong. And I see what's going wrong. First, we haven't even created a timer. So let's do reset timer and let's create a 10-second timer. And now once I do python.main.py, Now we also get another error. So let's just fix all of our errors first. And in order to do this, I'm just going to create another comma space. And I think that's just how process works. And now let's see whether we get another error. We still get an error. Let's see what's up. Oh, I think that this is called args, not arg. Whoops, my bad. And now if I run this, now it's working, which is what we want. But the thing is that if I do 10 here, you see it doesn't actually stop, which is not what we want. What we want is that after the input timer is created, we just want to clear the timer so that it just clears all existing timers. You'll also notice that we got an error here, and that's because signal handler takes two parameters, sign and frame, but we're not going to actually be using it inside our code, but that's how signal works. So now let's try this again. Hopefully there's no error this time, and let's see how it goes. So first, what I want to note is that you can see that this is going on the same line. So I'm just going to go to the next line by using /n. And we also get another error, list.remove x. And that's because I accidentally put I instead of process array of I. So now let's try this out again. And let's see whether the timer works. The halftime, it gives us that reminder. Almost up, it also gives us that reminder. Sorry, time it out. It stops. Let's try seeing if I wait a little bit, it'll give us that halftime left reminder. But if I do import something, let's see whether it continues the timer. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it stopped the timer. So congratulations on successfully creating a timer inside your program. Though this video was a little bit longer than normal, I hope that you still learned a lot. Bye, see you in the next video.